So the first foot we're going to look at is the zigzag foot. The zigzag foot has an opening here that is the same size as whatever the maximum size of the width of your machine is. So this machine that I'm using here has a 9mm width for its zigzag for the maximum, and your machine may be 5 or 7, or it may indeed be 9 as well. Some of the zigzag feet have a perspex part here. That's really good because you can see your stitches as they're performing, but it's not necessary. So you may find that that's actually silver or chrome. The zigzag foot is supplied with almost every machine. Well, I can't imagine a machine that isn't supplied with, to be honest. In years gone by, you would also have a straight stitch foot. Now that would be it's still supplied for commercial machines that really only focus on straight stitching, and often you would have a plate that is just a straight stitch plate as well, and that would just have a tiny hole. Instead of this large hole, it would just have a tiny hole, and that's only for using with straight stitch. Now that those have they're not supplied with every machine anymore, because as soon as you move to a stitch that needs width, you immediately encounter metal against your needle and the needle breaks. So in general, every machine is supplied with this, and some of the more fancy machines are supplied also with a zigzag foot. However, even if you have a zigzag, some of the machines are supplied with a straight stitch foot. However, if you have a straight stitch foot, I would say that this one is going to be your absolute go-to foot, not the straight one, because you have to remember to keep changing it. The other thing about this this foot, it has this little, often you'll find that that has a spring here, and that's just to help when you're going over seams. So you're going over a little hill and then back down again. That just gives it a little bit of spring. The other thing to mention about zigzag foot, it's actually worth getting your ruler out and measuring. So from where your needle will go down to the edge of your foot, so that's actually 3/8 of an inch. So from where my needle would go down here, if I put the edge of my fabric here and I was sewing here, then it would be 3/8. If I go to the edge of the perspex, then that's actually 1/4 of an inch. So it's really useful to know that when you to do some measuring, so that you know that when your needle is going into the middle of your foot, you know what size seam allowance you would have if you lined up with the edge, or maybe if you lined up with this perspex here. The other thing to mention is if you measure from the other way, from where the needle goes in to the front of your foot, often you'll find that that's actually 1/2 an inch, and that helps you when you're doing some stitching and you want to stop 1/2 an inch from the edge. Then as soon as the front of your foot hits the edge of your fabric, you know that you want to stop, and that would be 1/2 an inch. Or indeed, if you want it to be 1/4, then it's halfway along. So it is worth just spending a bit of time having a look at your zigzag foot and measuring, so you can actually understand a little bit more about how you can use it to get the most accurate sewing that you can. I think that's all I have to say about a zigzag foot.